Sehr geehrte Damen und Herren,
Ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome you most warmly to our press conference held after the Agriculture Ministers' Conference in the context of the GFFA. The Agriculture Ministers' Conference is an international meeting, and the highlight of the GFFA this year, the theme was the role of soils for agriculture and the world's population. I am the speaker of the Federal Ministry for Agriculture and Food, and I will lead you through this press conference. By my side, the Federal Minister for Food and Agriculture, Cem Özdemir. He is the host of the GFFA, and he will report on the results of the Agriculture Ministers' Conference and the adoption of the communiqué. The EU Commissioner for Agriculture and Regional Development, Mr. Wojciechowski, and the Director General of the FAO, Mr. Chu, and the Chair of the Committee on World Food Security, Mr. Ferro de Loma Osario, are joining us today too. Thank you for taking the time to giving a statement too. After the statements, there is room for the journalists to ask questions. And let me now pass the floor to Mr. Özdemir. Thank you. Let me extend warm words of welcome to the journalists. Our Global Forum for Food and Agriculture is a unique multilateral format. It is a well-established global and, above all, continuous discussion platform dedicated to the fight against global hunger. The 14th edition of the GFFA has focused on land and soil to secure the right to food. By no means must we forget about this, because without soil, we will only see hunger grow. I am delighted that so many people participated in our virtual event. More than 80 ministers for agriculture from all around the globe and 12 high-level international organizations. More than 2,000 participants engaged in discussions in 20 expert panels for a week in order to develop practicable solutions. We have shown once more in Berlin how important it is to stand united against global hunger. However, the high number of international participants also makes clear how urgently we need to work on the great challenges of our time. I am particularly talking about the climate crisis. Healthy soil is our ally in the fight against global hunger, the climate crisis, and the extinction of species. But it is under immense pressure. Land sealing and soil degradation are taking their toll. In addition, it is key for farmers that they have access to land and that they can engage in long-term cultivation of soils. We now need to translate our goals into action. We need to take action now. I am very pleased that we have agreed on concrete steps today and that we have reached an agreement. Today we are speaking with one voice worldwide. Let me briefly summarize the most important results. At the outset, I would like to stress we want to protect soil. Soil and land management has to be done more sustainably, and we have to reduce pressure on soil. To this end, we will strengthen soil information systems, and we will support agroecology and other innovative approaches. Degraded soils should, when possible and appropriate, be restored, and soil sealing should be reduced. Secondly, advanced climate protection and climate mitigation. Our soils are an enormous carbon sink, and they help us tackling the climate crisis. But we will only achieve this with the help of healthy soils. To achieve this, we should protect and build humus and reduce greenhouse gas emissions from cultivated drained bog soils, for example, through wetland restoration. Thirdly, we need to protect biodiversity. We will strengthen our commitment to foster biodiversity biodiversity in farmed and cultivated soils. Biodiversity is also a part of healthy soil. That is why we need to make more sustainable and efficient use of nutrients and fertilizers. It is also important to make a responsible use of pesticides. And finally, securing fair access to arable land. It is often the young generation that has no longer access to land to cultivate it. We need rules for the acquisition and the use of land. Land acquisition has to be in line with human rights and take into account social and ecological consequences. We are therefore committed to the voluntary guidelines on the responsible governance of tenure of land, fisheries and forests of the Committee on World Food Security. We are committed to their implementation too. Today we are sending a clear signal from Berlin. The final communiqué makes clear we stand united against global hunger and for sustainable agriculture and more climate protection. I believe that we have reached a good result. Now we need to implement it, because our final communiqué needs to be more than a mere declaration of intent. And this is what we have agreed on. It is a call for action. Thank you, Federal Minister. Let me now pass the floor to the Commissioner.
Thank you very much. First of all, my thanks and congratulations for Minister Özdemir and German Ministry of Agriculture for excellent organization of the forum and excellent organization of today's ministerial discussion. I had a pleasure to participate in a panel on the critical role of agri-food trade in ensuring global food security, chaired by WTO Deputy Director General, Mr. Pogam. I had the honor of hosting a high-level panel on public policy efforts to ensure better soil management, and once again, I thank all panelists. I'm pleased with the communique we have unanimously adopted together with my esteemed colleagues today. The title of the communique states it all. Food security starts with the soil. Soil supports society, so society must support soil. Improving the way we manage the soil as a natural resource starts with us. That is why the communique is more than just a statement of general consensus. It is a call for action. Agriculture and the fertile soil that serves as its foundation faced systemic challenges, and now in the future, for instance, the disruption of the supply chain, the increase in commodity and input prices, the effects of climate change, as well as emerging threats such as soil erosion, deforestation, and desertification. All of these issues are putting and increasing strain on farmlands and food production. The business as usual attitude in the past is no longer appropriate. Within the context of our regional circumstances, we all need to adopt and implement better soil management standards. We also have to change our consumption patterns. If soil is at the base of our food system, then we in society are at the top. We must ensure that consumers understand the critical importance of soil and support soil health in their food choices. The European Union intends to lead the transition to sustainable soil use. Our Farm to Fork strategy aims to guide the transition of our agri-food system towards a sustainable manner of operating. Our new common agriculture policy, for which our member states are currently submitting their national strategy plans, lays the basis to invest more heavily in ecological and social sustainability than in the past. We have also launched the research and innovation mission called the Soil Deal for Europe, financed under Horizon Europe. Since climate change pressure of population growth and dietary consumer demands are of global magnitude, they can only be solved through global solutions. Soil, on the other hand, is not an infinite resource. It cannot be moved around. Therefore, it has been managed responsibly within its natural boundaries and within its maximum capacity to feed the world. Agriculture mission and responsibility is to leverage farmland in a manner that means global demand for food, while also ensuring the right to future generations to inherit responsibly managed, healthy soil. In order to achieve this, it is also a responsibility of the global community to work towards ensuring that food demand stayed within the capacities of sustainable agriculture. And I truly hope to see you all in person in the next GFFA under improved public health conditions. Thank you again for this very excellent organized forum and very fruitful debate, discussion, and very important communique. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, for your kind words. I would now like to ask Mr. Ferro de Lomosario. You have the floor.
Thank you, Julian. And first of all, congratulations, Minister. I wish to commend the government of Germany for your global leadership in food security and nutrition and for dedicating this year's such a successful forum to the critical topic of sustainable land and soil health. As the chairperson of the UN Committee on World Food Security in FAO, the foremost inclusive multilateral platform that gathers 133 countries, farmers, civil society, and the business community, I really welcome the outcomes of this 2022 Global Forum. The communique before us is an outstanding result, and it reflects the balanced and integrated approach that it's needed to foster sustainable land use and healthy soils to build sustainable food systems that are capable of making the right to food for all our reality. We have all agreed at the forum that soils and land is our #1 lifeline. They support biodiversity, water, crops, trees, livestock, farmers, livelihoods and cultures, and not least the harvesting of renewable energies and carbon capture. According to FAO, land and soil supply over 95% of food consumed. And crucially, land is the world's smallholder and family farmers produce the 80% of the food the world eats. And there cannot be healthy soils nor sustainable land use without the combination of at least 3 factors. First, responsible governance of land tenure, governance that protects full respect of human rights, legitimate and secure access to agricultural land, accompanied by corresponding responsible investments in agriculture. Second, sustainable agriculture practices. And third, the empowerment of smallholders and family farmers. Yet paradoxically, almost 1 billion people across the world consider it likely or highly likely that they will be driven from their land or property in the next 5 years. Insecurity on tenure rights is a major driver around sustainable land use and one of the depletion of soils. So long-term secure access to productive land and other natural resources through recognized and protected ownership, tenure and rights to use land is of utmost importance. And this has been the core focus of the contribution of the Committee on World Food Security to this GFFA. This is why land governance is mission critical, because land governance is the bedrock upon which all other food security and nutrition, as well as our fight against desertification and climate change, are built. And we already know what to do. We have internationally agreed frameworks to improve land governance with human rights at the center, the voluntary guidelines on responsible governance of tenure of land, fisheries and forests that were agreed 10 years ago in the Committee on World Food Security. Working together hand in hand with FAO and the UN system has been is and will continue being essential to translate the globally agreed frameworks and other normative ones agreed at the CFS and other places into countries' legislation, policies, strategies, institutions, and investments. So if we've taken as a whole the voluntary guidelines on tenure with the principles for responsible agriculture investment, for instance, with the voluntary guidelines on food systems and nutrition, or the policy recommendations on agroecological and other innovative approaches, which are all globally agreed frameworks negotiated by member states, taking them all together, we can help many countries and communities, including our own, to shape our land and investment policies in ways that improve the lives and livelihoods of millions around the world. Yet sadly, the world's attention on land tenure has slid down during the global priority list over the years. Despite encouraging examples of success, a lot more needs to be done. So now it is time to recommit to apply the voluntary guidelines on tenure and other intergovernmentally agreed instruments, refocus our energies on responsible land governance for sustainable food systems. Thank you very much indeed.
Herzlichen Dank, Herr Vorsitzender.
Thank you very much indeed. And now I'm delighted to give the floor to Director General Zhu to address us. Dr. Zhu, you have the floor.
Thank you, Minister Chairman. And really, I feel thanks and congratulate you and the government of Germany for organizing this timely conference focused on land and soil, which are under the immense pressure and also critical time for global transformation of agricultural systems. After endorsement of the FAO strategy framework for next decade, the interconnected system of land, soil, and water are stretched to the limit. Pressure on land, water, resources has never been so intense and is compromising the productivity of agricultural systems and threatening livelihoods, not only farmers and all the human beings. Estimates indicate the human caused land degradation affects 34% of agriculture and land and impacting 40% of world population. It's a report released by FAO a couple weeks ago. Soil, land, and fresh water are the foundation of our agricultural systems, and farmers depend on them to produce 95% of food we eat. But our land and soil are degrading due to the intensification of agriculture and due to the less investment. The increased demand for food to satisfy the increased population and income growth and the livelihood improve, especially urbanization and industrialization, is leading to the extension of the cropping into the marginal lands, causing further erosion and the depletion of the carbon, nutrients, and the soil biodiversity. By 2050, soil erosion could cause up to 10% loss in crop production. Worldwide, estimated 24 billion tons of fertile soil is lost every year due to the soil erosion, desertification, and the sealing. Soils are of the major global reservoir for biodiversity, hosting more than 25% of the world valued resources, and the soil organisms play the crucial role in sustaining life on our planet. The degradation of 1/3 of the world's soil has already released up to 78 gigatons of the carbon into the atmosphere. Any further damage to soil carbon stocks will further slow down efforts to contain the rising global temperature. Healthy soils could offset almost 34% of the greenhouse gas emissions for agricultural land annually. Soil pollution increase crosses all the borders and compromise the food we eat, the water we drink, and the air we breathe, with the negative implication for agricultural system and human health. Healthy soil with a high organic matters content can store large amount of water, but soil salinity urbanization is threatening 10% of global cropland. We must look for the innovative way to transform our agricultural system to more efficient, more inclusive, more resilient, and more sustainable. Our society is demanding more food that is more nutritious and safer, free of the contaminants and the pathogens. Reliable soil data is critical. Soil laboratory should have adequate analytical capacity and require human resources and equipment to provide this important primary soil data. Without data, without the science-based solution and the decision-making, of course. But the majority of the national soil laboratory do not have sufficient capacity. Continued investment is therefore fundamental. Land use play the decisive role for the healthy soil and improve the mitigation and adaptation to the impacts of the climate crisis. Countries must make strong commitment towards the sustainable soil management. Farmers' ownership for action are fundamental to caring for the soil and the nature. And I'm so delighted to listen to young farmers made a clear statement, ask all the key players from government to the civil society, look at the public policy, investment, innovation, and also the action in the field. So our collective action to maintain and restore soil health will impact on our achievement of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The collective commitment of this global forum, as set out in the communique, will accelerate action needed. FAO will support the members and facilitate the implementation of the actions set out in the communique. FAO is committed to health, soil, and scaling up sustainable soil management at all levels together with all the key partners. And I really sincerely hope we can have a more deliverable results for better production, better nutrition, better environment, better life for all, leaving no one behind. And thank you very much. And the FAO is willing to strengthen cooperation with all the key partners and in these important issues. Thank you.
Herzlichen Dank, Herr Generaldirektor. Wir freuen uns, dass Sie uns
Thank you
mit Worten zur Verfügung gestanden haben. Es gibt
for giving you a statement. We have now room for questions. So please may I ask the journalists to ask their questions, please.
Momentan sind im Chat noch keine Fragen eingegangen.
Right now, there are no questions in the chat.
Ihre Fragen zu stellen.
I would like to give you the opportunity to ask your questions.
Ich sehe bisher keine Fragen, dann war das in dem Fall
No questions in the chat, so this was a very short press conference indeed. Apparently, we were able to answer all questions in advance. Thank you for taking an interest in our event. Thank you, Dr. Ferrero, Dr. Chu, and Mr. Wojciechowski. And thank you, Federal Minister. See you soon. See you next year.